Hello, welcome back to a Spiritual Ascension, my 5-year journey. I'm telling all about what had happened to me along my ascension journey that happened from April 2020 to April 2025. So when I left off, um, I had gone to Walmart hoping that I could somehow sneak and stay inside there all night, and I knew that wasn't going to work. And um, I left there and ended up in the back of Lowe's, and they had sod grass piled up on pallets, like rows and rows of them. Because now it is like around May, because we're now on Thursday. So I think it's like around May 4th now. And I had left that house on Sunday, April 30th of 2023. So now it's exactly 3 years that I've been on my journey. And as I said before, those first 3 years were about preparation for this and also ending all those karmic relationships that I had, family, friends, situations, everything from my past life needed to end. And then it was like preparation for me to now actually start this journey. Um, so when I left that house on April 30th, I was actually going into the most difficult part of the journey. Because this is the part where you're no longer really dealing with other people. Those first 3 years, I was dealing with a lot of people, dealing with family members, old situations from family, and then kind of adjusting to getting back on my feet, being with these other homeless women and getting to know some of them and helping them on their path, getting back on my feet in order for me to now prepare, which I didn't know I was preparing, to actually now go on this journey, physical journey. And in this journey, it's about you now being alone with the divine. First 3 years were all about those karmic relationships that you needed to end. For me, anyway. I don't know what your time frame would be. But then the next 2 years after that was me being in an intimate one-on-one with the divine. And it's like the divine showing me, oops, I forgot to start this again, um, and teaching me during that time. My intuition growing and learning what I call is spiritual navigation, which I think I've done a video on that. So as I said in the last video, I ended up kind of ducking between, because it's now around 11 o'clock at night. It was a full moon that night, and I think it was a full Taurus moon, if I'm correct. And the moon, when I had left Walmart, was kind of a ways away. And I had put myself between two pallets. The pallets were like, the rows were like really long and like thin, you know. And so when I kind of squatted down, like I had to put my legs straight along the aisle, like I couldn't turn this way. That's how tight they were. It's just enough room for someone to walk through. So I put something down to sit on because the ground, of course, was wet there. And I was right next to some like a grove of a lot of trees and things. And there's also something about being in nature. Um, So again, it's about 50 degrees, and I'm going through what I feel is like a ceremonial shaking. And if you look up um, indigenous ceremony of like tent shaking within a tent, you'll kind of understand what I mean. Um, but it felt like this initiation. And also, there was, when I left Walmart, it felt there was this push, and in my intuition, feeling like I felt like I needed to be outside. Like something was telling me, Marilyn, for a second night in a row, not in a row, but second night, you need to be outside. And it's like there was this acceptance of that. And I said, if I made it through that first night when it was raining and so raw and cold, um, it was cold, but there was no rain or anything. So I said, it has to be a little bit better than that first night. And um, I had the two wraps, I wrapped them around me. The funny, crazy thing was I didn't prepare well for this at all because I didn't know what I was going to be going through. And I wore like slip-in sneakers where I didn't have any socks on, so my ankles were like really cold. So I tried to put like one shawl over my head and then put the other shawl like around my legs, down around my ankles. I had no other clothes with me than the ones that I had on my back. Um, and I probably dozed off a few times. And then I would wake up because I was just so uncomfortable sitting. And I had my back against one of the sod piles. It was covered with like plastic wrap. And of course, I kept checking the time like every so often because I'm like, okay. There was a Dunkin' Donuts right around the corner from there. So I said, okay, I knew they would probably open. I think they opened at 5, that particular one. I said, I know I can go over there by 5 o'clock and go inside and sit down. And so I was trying to wait for like 4:30 to start moving around, like to get up from there. And I wasn't getting good sleep, because it was cold. So I had to keep moving around and stuff like that. Around 4 o'clock, I woke up. And as I said before, like the pallets were, um, there was an aisle. So when I looked down the aisle, I was looking down towards past Lowe's, the building. But when I kind of woke up at around 4 o'clock or so, when I looked down the aisle, right in dead set in front of me, like this thin aisle, was this full moon, like right in front of me. And like those I say are the things to recognize as being signs that like the universe is with you, like the universe has your back. Like that moon was sitting right in between the aisle. I don't know where it was previous to that, but when I woke up at 4 o'clock and I was ready to get up, it was sitting right there, just looking straight at me in that aisle. I think I probably stayed there a little longer because I didn't want to start walking around at 4 o'clock in the morning. And around 4:30, I got up and I was in so much pain from being in that position, or, for those 5 hours or whatever. And I walked towards kind of like roamed around for that half an hour. And at 5 o'clock, I went to the Dunkin' Donuts, and the guy hadn't even unlocked the door yet. And he saw me standing out there, and he came and he unlocked the door for me to come in. And I was just so grateful to like be inside and be able to sit down and have something warm to drink. Um, so I stayed there probably maybe till 8 o'clock or whatever, because I think Panera opens at either 7 or 8. I think I stayed there till. And while I was there, um, my guy friend called me and he says, I was trying to get the money together for you for a hotel for last night. And he says, I'm sorry, because I know he has some move money or something like that. And I was like, no, it's fine. I said, I stayed outside and I felt like I was supposed to. There was something about me needing to stay outside that night. And went through, as I said, this shaking kind of initiation thing. And it's not even on the outside, it's internal shaking. It was like this thing you say, like a purification period of moving out of maybe, I don't even know. I know, like, I looked it up before, like what the meanings are and stuff like that. And it's pretty deep because at first I'm like, something is different about this. And I didn't even know if it was a thing. And like indigenous, the shamans has this as a ceremony. People go within a tent and going into this shaking, and it's kind of like a purification type of thing. So he says, well, later, he says, I'll try to send you some money later so you can get a hotel room for tonight. And I was like, yeah, okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I think I went over to Panera and stayed there most of the day. And then I don't know what time he ended up sending me some money again. And the next lowest price hotel that I could find was actually on the other side of this highway that I had described to you guys, where my son had been killed. And when I took an Uber, I ended up taking an Uber over there because there was a lot of traffic in that area and I didn't feel really comfortable walking. And I thought actually it was closer than it was. So I took an Uber over to this next hotel. And where the hotel was, it was right along the highway. And if I was to look over the fence where the hotel was and the highway was on the other side of the fence, if I was to look over the fence, that's the exact spot where my son had been killed on the highway. I was like, oh my goodness. It was like the weirdest thing that and I had even been trying to find a hotel in that area. I was just trying to find the cheapest hotel that I could go to. And I think the hotel that I had been staying with, the price had gone up or something like that. And I kind of came into this realization that, as I've been saying, I'm going to start again. I'm sorry, teary-eyed again. As I've been saying to you guys, you are living two lives within one lifetime. So your past life is ending. So it was kind of like a review of my past life and it kind of was important places that I had been to or that meant something to me. I was visiting. And like I said, where I was before as a child, I had been in that area a lot. And now the hotel that I went to was right where my son had been um, killed by a drunken driver on that highway. So it was kind of like, you know, just, I don't know, really, I don't know. Let me know if anyone else has experienced anything like this, if you are on your journey and there's like this life review of your past life. And like I said, I had gone to where my old home was, where I grew up. I had gone to my grammar school and my high school and just felt this push, this need to go and visit these places. my first apartment after I had got married and had my first son, went and visited there. And it's like I knew I would never be going to these places again. Like I would never ever end up there, like or go to visit these. Like that was it was ending. And it felt like I was being pulled now to where my son's, took his last breath. And I probably will never and ever go back to that place, that spot again in my life. Okay. So I ended up getting a room at this next hotel and just so happy to um after spending the night outside the night before to now be in, the warmth of a room. I had to wash, I hadn't washed out my clothes in 2 days. I only had the clothes on my back. So I had to wash everything out and kind of hang it up and hoping it would dry by, the next morning. So I'm gonna leave it there and thank you for being here and listening to my story. Hopefully it's helping you guys out in some way to understand if you are starting a journey or in the middle of a journey. Um, Not that you're going to go through exactly what I went through. This is my path, but as an example of what could be. Okay. If you would like to talk to me about your own story or more about my story, would like to have a reading, um, there's a link below to book time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.